Franklin Graham says it's a lot to do about nothing. A robed Trump, glowing hands, reverent onlookers, divine light, and one of America's most prominent evangelical leaders is calling it a misunderstanding. But here's what makes this story more than just another social media controversy. This is part of a pattern, and that pattern is getting harder to explain away. Today we're breaking it all down. We'll read Graham's full statement, word for word, so there's no cherry-picking. We'll look at real replies from his own thread, over 14,000 of them, that expose the cracks in his defense. And then we'll ask the question that frankly needs to be asked. How long can Franklin Graham keep doing this before the cost to his ministry becomes irreversible? Let's establish what actually happened, because the details matter. While Trump posted an AI-generated image on Truth Social showing himself in flowing first-century robes, laying hands on a sick man, glowing light emanating from his palm, surrounded by U.S. flags, fighter jets, eagles, and the Statue of Liberty. It went immediately viral. Christians across the spectrum called it idolatrous, blasphemous. And crucially, the backlash didn't come only from the left. It came from evangelical supporters and from House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican. Trump deleted it. His explanation? He thought the image depicted him as a doctor healing people, not as Christ. Then, days later, he posted a second meme. This one showed Jesus personally embracing Trump at a podium in front of an American flag. The caption framed Trump's political opponents as satanic, demonic, child-sacrificing monsters, and suggested God was playing his Trump card by elevating the president to expose them. Trump's own words, alongside that second meme, the radical left lunatics might not like this, but I think it is quite nice. 2 posts, both messianic in framing, and Franklin Graham responded to both, not with caution, but with defense. Franklin Graham posted his response on X. We are reading it in full, every single word, exactly as published. I had received some questions about President Donald Trump's recent posts, and here are my thoughts. I do not believe President Trump would knowingly depict himself as Jesus Christ. That would certainly be inappropriate. I'm thankful the president has made it very clear that this was not at all what he thought the AI-generated image was representing. He thought it was a doctor helping someone, and when he learned of the concerns, he immediately removed the post. When I looked at the illustration, I didn't jump to the same conclusion as some. There were no spiritual references, no halo, there were no crosses, no angels. It was a flag, soldiers, a nurse, fighter planes, eagles, the Statue of Liberty, and I think this is a lot to do about nothing. There is so much ill-intended speculation. I think his enemies are always foaming at the mouth at any possible opportunity to make him look bad. And the illustration from someone else he reposted on Truth Social yesterday, I must say that I like the fact that this is a picture of Jesus whispering in his ear, or at least his hand on his shoulder guiding him. We all need that. We all need to be listening to Jesus. Again, I think there is an attempt to spin this into something that it isn't. Remember, President Trump didn't draw this. He didn't create it. He reposted it on his social media because he thought it was nice. I would have to agree. I'm not a Catholic, I'm an evangelical, but I appreciate how President Trump has defended religious freedom for people of all faiths, including millions of evangelicals and Catholics in the U.S. and around the world. He is the most pro-Christian, pro-life president in my lifetime, and he doesn't shy away from it. I would hope that the president and Pope Leo can meet at some point, and that the Pope would have the opportunity to thank the president for his efforts to protect religious liberty for Catholics and people of all faiths. That is the complete statement. Nothing removed, nothing added. Graham's core argument breaks down into 3 claims. Let's take them one at a time. Claim 1. Trump didn't know it looked like Jesus. The image isn't subtle. Art historians and casual viewers alike flooded the replies with side-by-side comparisons. The Trump AI next to classic paintings of Jesus healing the sick. Same pose, same robe, same glowing hand on the forehead of a patient, same reverential onlookers, same dramatic lighting and sky. You don't need a halo labeled Jesus for an image to scream messianic iconography, especially when it's compositionally tracing a tradition that has been reproduced for 2,000 years. Reports also surfaced that Trump discussed the image with an advisor before posting it. This was not an accidental reshare from someone scrolling too fast. Claim 2. There were no spiritual references. It was just flags and eagles and a nurse. Graham says he didn't jump to the same conclusion as some. But the issue isn't about what labels appear in the image. It's about visual language, the artistic grammar of the composition. The glowing hand on the forehead of a sick man, in a robe, with reverent figures surrounding him. That is not the visual grammar of a doctor. That is the visual grammar of the Gospels. Generations of Christian artists have used exactly this iconography to depict Christ healing the blind, the lame, and the lepers. Graham, of all people, knows this tradition. Claim 3. Critics are just enemies foaming at the mouth. This framing deserves scrutiny, because the people raising concerns about this image are not exclusively, or even primarily, secular critics. They include Christians, pastors, evangelical believers, people who take the Second Commandment seriously. Dismissing all of them as politically motivated enemies is not a pastoral response. It is a political one. And then there's the second meme, the one Graham actually endorsed. He didn't just excuse it. He said, quote, "I must say that I like it." A meme explicitly framing Trump's opponents as demonic and satanic, with Jesus personally embracing the president, and Graham responds that we should all be listening to Jesus in that way. Graham's post drew over 14,000 replies. We pulled several that represent what believers inside the faith community are actually saying, because these are not the enemies foaming at the mouth that Graham described. One user posted side-by-side images of the Trump AI and a classic Jesus healing painting, then ran it through an AI analysis tool. The response confirmed: exact composition, matching pose, red robe, glowing healing light, onlookers in identical positions, dramatic sky. The user's reply, "Yeah, how could anyone have thought it was Jesus?" dripping with sarcasm and proving the point that Graham's "no spiritual references" line collapses the moment you look at the image in context. Another reply, blunt and direct. Franklin, you will excuse anything Trump does. Literally anything. A Christian commenter went further. I've seen it over the years, but I never thought I'd see a Christian leader contort himself and lie so brazenly. And then this one, referencing Graham's father directly. The late Billy Graham was a true man of God. He would never have sold out to the devil. These are not political opponents. These are people from within the evangelical community watching this unfold and calling it what they see. Here is where we have to zoom out, because this is not an isolated incident. Last October, Graham wrote Trump a private letter, a genuinely pastoral letter, urging the president to consider his eternal state, to accept Jesus Christ as his savior, and to stop trusting in his own works. It was, by all accounts, a sincere, theologically grounded letter. The kind a pastor writes when he is genuinely concerned for someone's soul. Trump posted that letter publicly on Palm Sunday. A private pastoral communication, put on social media by the recipient. Graham did not rebuke that. He subsequently participated in a White House Easter luncheon where Paula White Cain compared Trump's political trajectory to the suffering and resurrection of Jesus. Graham was in the room. At CPAC, Graham said, on the record, that it's important that we do everything we can to get Trump re-elected. He later claimed he misspoke and was referring to Trump's policies. And there is the ongoing feud between Trump and Pope Leo XIV, which Graham has engaged by citing Old Testament precedents of divinely appointed kings. Each of these moments could be contextualized individually. Together, they form a picture. And the picture is of a man whose public posture has moved from pastoral engagement with a political leader to something that functions more like institutional cover. Franklin Graham is not just any evangelical voice. He is the son of Billy Graham. He leads Samaritan's Purse, one of the most recognized Christian humanitarian organizations on the planet. His credibility is real. His father's legacy is real. The decades of genuine ministry are real. That credibility is also exactly what makes his public posture so consequential. When Graham says a lot to do about nothing, he is not simply offering an opinion. He is lending the full weight of that institutional credibility to a conclusion, that the concern is manufactured, that the critics are enemies, that the president's explanation is sufficient and should be received without scrutiny. That is a significant deployment of pastoral authority. And there are costs. Younger Christians and moderates who want faith-first leadership, not partisan loyalty, are watching this. Donors to Samaritan's Purse are watching this. The international communities that Samaritan's Purse serves, many of whom look to American evangelical leadership for a witness that transcends politics, are watching this. Some believers will agree with Graham entirely, who see his posture as faithfulness, who believe Trump's critics are indeed politically motivated, and who feel that defending the president is itself a form of defending Christian values. But there are also believers, and not only on the left, who are watching with something closer to grief. Not political grief, pastoral grief. The kind that asks, quietly, at what point does loyalty to a political ally compromise the prophetic independence that gives pastoral leadership its power? We're not here to tell you what to conclude. That's not what Anointed TV does. We cover what's documented. We read the statements in full. We track the patterns over time. And then we ask the questions that the statements themselves raise. What Graham has built, his platform, his humanitarian reach, the weight of his family's legacy, is genuinely significant. The question is what it's being used for, and whether, years from now, the record of these moments will look like faithful engagement or costly compromise. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read them, and on stories like this, they matter. Primary sources are linked in the description. As always, we direct you to the reporters doing the original investigative work. We are commentary, not the source. This is Anointed TV. If this kind of accountability journalism is valuable to you, subscribe, share this video, and we'll see you in the next one.